Hi everybody, and welcome back to our reviews of research in child development. I'm Dr. Lisa Gasson, and today we're going to be following up on our last installment, which looked at the persistence of attachment style over time, by asking a more practical question: can we prevent the development of a disorganized attachment style? I'm not going to go into great detail about the different attachment styles that are out there. If you are not familiar with that literature or need a review, you might Google attachment in children, and the Wikipedia article that comes up is a pretty good summary. For now, suffice it to say that the disorganized attachment style is arguably the most damaging to children, predicting various poor outcomes in the future. So in order to try and answer this question about preventing it from developing, we're going to turn to a 2005 meta-analysis by Dr. Marion Bakermans-Cronenberg. Hope I'm saying that right. And she and her colleagues, who are at a university in Holland, reviewed 15 studies on interventions that began before the children were on average 4.5 years. So some of the interventions started when the children were preschoolers, others started when the children were newborns. I think there was even a few that may have started before the birth of the child. And they are looking at what characteristics of these programs made them successful in preventing disorganized attachment in children. Let's see what they found. First of all, I should say that on average, they did not find that the programs were very successful at all, which is kind of discouraging. But fortunately, they were able to find subgroups of programs which at least had a moderate impact in a positive direction. So for example, one subgroup of relatively successful programs were those that started when the infants were at least 6 months of age, which is kind of surprising because, our mantra tends to be the earlier we start intervention, the better, which in general I think is a good principle. But here it seems that when we're talking about preventing disorganized attachment, it's better perhaps for the infant to be even a little bit older. Now, that's not to say that programs that do start when the baby is younger, that are designed to meet other goals, might not be successful. They may well be. But having an infant who's a little bit older, perhaps a little bit more interactive with the parent, seemed to help in this particular case. Successful programs also used professional interveners, so not volunteers, not just a manualized program where parents are just given a workbook to go through, but actually those who are trained to deliver an intervention well. This second to last one here won't surprise any of us, I don't think, if we're familiar with the attachment literature. Those programs that were successful tended to focus on parental sensitivity training. Okay, in other words, reading the child's cues, interpreting them correctly, and responding to them correctly. Other programs focused on things like, providing just support to the parents in general. Some were more cognitive in nature, where they worked with the parents' representations, or as we say, internal working models, right? About parenting, about attachment, about children. And those other emphases didn't really seem to have an impact, at least on warding off the development of a disorganized attachment. So parental sensitivity seemed to be the key. And then finally, successful programs were directed at children who were at risk, but those that were directed at parents at risk weren't really that successful. So kids who were maybe premature or maybe adopted, they benefited from a program, but they didn't benefit when there weren't those at-risk factors for the children, but the parents themselves were at risk, perhaps because of mental illness or being poverty-stricken. So these results give us a little bit of insight into what the field, at least at this point, sees as being the most successful way to prevent a disorganized attachment style, right? Working with children who are a little bit older, really focusing on that parental sensitivity and really implementing the programs with kids who are at risk. We might need something else to improve the child's development if the parents are at risk. That's it for this time. We'll see you sometime soon. Take care.